Our top story. Imagine you're walking down a road you have walked down 1,000,000 times and are suddenly attacked by bike-borne assailants whose aim is not to kill you but snatch your chain or your purse. It's an experience many of you or people you know may have had. In 90% cases, you will not even bother registering a case, and when you do, it will probably drag on for years. 56-year-old Sumitra Mittal, of course, will not even have that choice to go to the police. She is now dead. Two young men aged 18 and 20 tried to snatch her chain and her purse when she was in an e-rickshaw making her way to her brother's house. In the ensuing tussle, she of course tried to save her purse and her chain. She falls down, hits her head on the ground and dies. She dies of severe head injuries. Now, 3 men have been arrested. All of them are between the age of 18 to 24. The one who is 24 is a repeat offender. But all of that is, of course, of little solace to her family.
वहाँ जब वो जा रही थी तो रास्ते में 13 सेक्टर के आसपास डीसी चौक के आसपास एक हादसा हुआ कि उनसे पर्स छीना गया। 3 लड़के आए स्कूटी पे और उनसे पर्स छीना उन्होंने, और जब मेरी मदर इन लॉ ने पर्स बचाने की कोशिश करी है तो वो गिर गई हैं और उन्होंने शायद कुछ किसी चीज़ से प्रहार भी किया है, किसी चीज़ से उनको चोट भी पहुंचाई है, जिस वजह से ब्लड उनका काफ़ी लॉस हुआ था, ब्लड लॉस, जिस वजह से उनकी डेथ हुई है।
दिन दिहाड़े वो है लूटपाट भी हो जाए पर आदमी की तो नहीं जाना चाहिए। हमारे केस में तो आदमी भी चला गया। लूटपाट तो अलग हुई से उसको छोड़ो, पर आदमी चला गया, और जिसके उसके बेस पे सारा परिवार यहाँ जो था छोटा सा वो चल रहा था।
Let me go straight across to our guest to help understand why the #1 problem on India's roads is usually brushed under the carpet. Why do law enforcement agencies not take snatching seriously? In most cases, as I said, and this is what data is telling us, that less than 10% people actually show up at a police station to register an FIR when it comes to snatching, because they know that the police will not act on it. It's not a serious enough crime, as it were. D. Rupa is a senior IPS officer, will be joining us in just a bit. Dr. Miran Chadha Borwankar is a former IPS officer. From Maharashtra, Vikram Singh is a former DGP of Uttar Pradesh. Saeed Asad Abbas is a political analyst, and we have Sandeep Ghosh, who's an author, who is joining us on the broadcast as well. Vikram Singh, I'm going to come to you first. Chain snatching is not just an irritant in India's roads and Indian cities. It's a major problem. The police will show you data, and I can put out that data as well, that will show us that actually snatching incidents in the city are down. But anecdotally, we know when every third person is reporting it, there is something terribly wrong in the way our cities are policed.
Absolutely, Shreya ji. It would be foolhardy to believe that all the cases are registered. And those that are registered, a very small fraction that actually happen, are faithfully investigated. And of those that are investigated, a small microscopic minority are charge sheeted. And in that microscopic minority, even 5% are those who get convicted. Now we do a bit of reverse engineering. Why? The moment a person complainant enters the police station, he's told, what will you do? Nothing is going to happen. You'll run from court pillar to post. Here is something that we'll offer you. Is this the chain that you lost? Lo and behold, I would not like to believe that happens everywhere, but some places it does happen. Some brass chain, a counterfeit is offered, and the person trustingly keeps it and says that, yes, my loss has been covered. Then these are first-timers. The first-timers who have invested a princely amount for their education, and the gold being 50,000 for 10 grams. One has just to rob 10 chains a month, and one can live the life of a prince. My interrogation has revealed that they spend lavishly on their girlfriends. They spend lavishly in going to, I would not like to go into the gory details. Some even double up as goldsmiths and melt the gold chains in the crucible and in the homemade gas burners. Well, this is something that needs to be, the police should have their intelligence and the antenna upwards. And any person, whether it's the goldsmith who receives the chains, whether it is melted and melted at home, the criminal intelligence should be able to identify those living beyond their means. If a person has taken a bank EMI and paying his fees, he has no business to have, say, a high-end car like a Creta. I'm giving you real-life examples, costing 14 lakhs. That is something that a person living beyond his means and he is seen in suspicion. Now the remedy, respected Meera ji is there, very knowledgeable, she will tell you. Facial recognition software, adequate CCTV network. Our politicians will say the police cannot be everywhere. The police need not be everywhere, but technology can be everywhere. Upar wala sab dekh raha hai. Have your positions in the deep learning software, as also facial recognition software, and the history sheeters and all people who have figured in chain snatching earlier, their data should be fed in the CCTV. And yes, if such a person is spotted, well, it is a cause of concern, and the police should swoop down and come down like a ton of bricks. It is not rocket science. Those who have the killer instinct in the police have been able to do it. Meera ji has been able to do it, as also Rupa ji. I see no reason why anybody should feel helpless. If we relegate our responsibility to the station house officer, well, I would not go beyond that. It is for the leadership in the police to intervene, get adequate and actionable criminal intelligence, and work on that. Shreya ji.
Dr. Borwankar, come in here. The citizen is helpless. We've come to a point where ladies around me at least say, if you're stepping out of the house, if you're, walking down to your local market to buy vegetables, simply don't wear your chain. That is what it has come to. Because crime on the street is a direct reflection of policing in our cities. And that policing is showing us that, citizens are not safe. It's as simple as that. Now, it's just chain snatching. Most people will not even go to the police station to report it. Even when they do, their experience is not very good. I just want to understand from you, Dr. Borwankar, why snatching is considered a petty crime by our law enforcement agencies when we know that it's not a petty crime, it's an organized crime. There are syndicates that are working and the police knows who these people are. And yet you have repeat offenders who are arrested week after week and month after month.
So I would disagree with you that in police, we consider chain snatching to be a minor or a small offense. Chain snatching is taken up very seriously. In fact, I came across a case where in Sion police station, Mumbai police has got the chain snatchers convicted under MCOC, under Section 3 of MCOC, which defines organized crime. So I would completely differ with you that we consider it as a minor crime. I agree that many times police officers don't respond, which I accept is a very grave mistake on our part. I also accept that many times citizens don't approach us. In fact, when in Mumbai we wanted to return the chains of citizens, and in this case, many women, we found that we did not have complainants. So whenever a gang is arrested, we trace back the complainants, and many a times to our distress, we find no complainants. So I would urge all the women who have ever been victims not to put this serious offense under the carpet, but approach the police station, the nearest police station, and report chain snatching.
But snatching and theft are two different things, aren't they? If you put something under the larger umbrella of theft, the police looks better. Which is why most people who will tell you, who go to a police station, ma'am will tell you, and ma'am, you can correct me, of course, but most people will tell you that, the sections under which something like snatching is registered are the ones that are the lenient sections.
No, sorry, we register it under robbery under 392 IPC. We don't register it under theft in Maharashtra. Vikram Singh sir can talk of UP and Rupa can talk about Karnataka. In Maharashtra, it's registered as a case of robbery.
Vikram Singh ji, you wanted to come in here? You'll have to unmute. You'll have to unmute yourself, sir.
So sorry. Shreya ji, Dr. Meera ji is an oasis of excellence, and she has made an exemplary action in case of chain, being a lady herself. She feels how really serious the crime is. And in police language, it is known as minimization of crime, alpikaran in Hindi, or burking of crime. To say that, yes, it was a theft would undermine and dilute the charges. It will not go to the supervisory officer. I can say, Meera ji has spoken about Mumbai. Mumbai, of course, nobody can question the antecedents. But in UP, I can say that has assumed epidemic proportions. Epidemic proportions. And I would be very happy if the police officers would take the example from Biraji and invoke the provisions of the National Security Act because public order is initiated, and also ensure that all cases are registered. And those who are diehard and receivers of stolen property, they are booked and they're taken to task. Shreya ji.
But they're let off. Look at the punishment ranges from 2 years to 10 years. You're booked under a lenient section. You know you will get out of jail in 2 years. And therefore, something like snatching continues. And you know, the numbers are only increasing. They're not coming down. Even data that we have from the National Crime Record Bureau is telling us that the numbers of snatching incidents are only rising. I'm just going to get in some more voices here. Saeed Asad Abbas, come in here. This is Delhi we are talking about. This is the national capital that we are talking about, where a woman in a snatching incident has died. She's 56 years old. She is vulnerable. And just by the way, most victims of snatching are women. She's vulnerable. She's 56 years old. It is Bhai Dooj. She is going to her brother's house. She has to pick up her sister on the way. This is a route she has taken multiple times. And yet, there is such great degree of confidence in two, one is a teenager, 18-year-old, and another is a 20-year-old. They have such great confidence that they will get away, that they commit the crime and push off. With they see that the woman has hit her head on the road, and yet they just make away with her belongings, which of course have now been recovered. It says something about policing in this city, and this is our capital. You'll have to unmute yourself, Asad. Okay. No, Asad, I'm afraid we'll try and fix your audio line. I can't hear you at all. We'll just try and do that. I'm going to ask my production team to do that. Sandeep Ghosh, would you want to come in here? I mean, I don't even want to get into a BJP versus Aam Aadmi Party ladai here, because that is what happens with everything that happens in the national capital, whether it is pollution, whether it is garbage, whether it is Yamuna, whether it is snatching.
Shreya, Meeraji was right in what you started with. These things are sometimes very, very city or state specific. So Bombay has had a culture where there have been far lower tolerance of these sort of crime, and that therefore the police system is geared that way. There are other cities I don't want to get into which were in the past very sensitized to both crime against women as well as these sort of snatching, where if you went to the police station, very often you got your stuff back. But it varies in other places. And much of it is a function of political will. Because unless you have a political will, you have to take a very macro approach. It's not just putting policemen at corners of the street or even putting CCTV cameras, which we'll do. It has a much macro approach towards crime, and that's how things are. So if you look at examples even overseas, New York used to be a very, very unsafe city once upon a time, where anybody going out would be always afraid of mugging. But thereafter, it changed, and he's not a very popular name anymore after Giuliani came through as the mayor. He changed the whole way policing was being done in New York, and New York became one of the more safer cities. I wouldn't say the safest city in the world. People have to exercise precaution. This is a reality of life. But then today, you don't hear of anybody really being afraid of going out for dinner or walking in the street and be afraid of mugging. So Delhi has historically been unsafe for women and these sort of crimes. And so the change which you are talking about, be it if you talk to Aam Aadmi Party, they will say police is not under us, it is under the Home Ministry. Whatever it is, if they want to change the character of the national capital, there has to be a political will and coordination. In Bombay, I've lived in Bombay. Meeraji's from Bombay. She knows the city very well. Earlier, it's one of the safest cities for women. But now, if there is a slightest crime, people raise the ante and say that what's happening to our city? Here, women could return back from work at 2 o'clock at night and take the train and everything. And if there is something, so that is the level of public consciousness, and that's why there is also political consciousness. Unless you bring that, if the public also on the, say, यहाँ तो ऐसा होता ही है. People have to take their own precaution. Politicians also say, "ये क्या बड़ी बात है? ये तो छोटी-मोटी crime hai," as you would say. Then you get into the problem. So it requires a change in political mindset. If the chief minister wants it, he can even demand it of the police authority, even though the police authority is under the home ministry. So that is the point. See, Noida. Yeah, but Noida, I think there has been a great change in terms of a law and order situation, still not the best, but it has happened due to political will. And that is what we have to demand of our politicians.
Just by the way, I agree with you there that Uttar Pradesh, the BJP government and Yogi Adityanath, amongst other reasons, one of the reasons why they were voted back to power was law and order. You traveled across the state. And I have friends and family there. Everyone said that law and order has improved in Uttar Pradesh. Just by the way, that law and order is dipping once again. Because you are seeing street crimes on the streets of Lucknow. You're seeing street crimes on the streets of Noida as well. So unfortunately, that improvement that we had seen in law and order in Uttar Pradesh, that improvement seems to be dipping. And I hope there is someone from the BJP listening to this, someone from the BJP in Uttar Pradesh listening to this. You may want to fix it because, one of the things that, as I said, as I began my show, one of the things, Asad, that people vote for, and I can say this for myself and my family, that, the road can be kachada, there can be garbage on the streets, the Yamuna can be polluted. But the one thing, and the supreme and primary thing that a voter will vote on is your safety. If my child is not safe out on the streets, if my mother or grandmother is not safe on the, safe on the streets, if there are snatching incidents that are happening all around me, that's not the government I want to vote for. I mean, I'm just looking at, for example, Saeed, just come in here. You, of course, live in Bangalore. And just by the way, snatching is a problem, ladies and gentlemen, across this country. Not just in North India and not just in Delhi. Maybe the numbers are lesser, but it's a malice that strikes streets across the country. Look at the numbers, Asad, for example, that the Delhi police is giving us. And this is from their website. So I'm just reading it off. 2018, some 7,000 cases. 2019, there is a dip. 2020, again, it increases to some 8,000. 2021, 9,000 something. 2022, till July, 5,000 something. Now, I want to laugh at these numbers. I really want to laugh at these numbers. Because what these numbers are telling me essentially is that either the police is not registering FIRs or people are not going to the police because they know nothing will happen.
Shreya ji, firstly, as a viewer of Mirror Now, let me thank you with folded hands for doing a story that truly matters. I believe that this is the fourth pillar of Constitution and we must address such issues because this matters to every citizen of this nation. Secondly, Shreya ji, let me point it out and be very honest on you, Shreya, has always been. The state government needs to do its job, have respective CCTV camera at every nook and corner. The respective left-hand government needs to approve this immediately. Also, like ably Vikram Singh Saab said about facial recognition features, the police must adapt to the technology. Also, as a matter of point, Shreya ji, let me tell you, this woman who passed away is 56-year-old. She's the age of my mother. Would any of us be okay if this happened? And what is happening, Mr. Purushottam Das, the relative of the woman, says, Chori to theek hai, yahan par jaan gayi hai. This is not okay. This is a very serious issue. Also, the party which speaks of Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao, and who's the police, the Home Ministry comes under, they must do their respective job. 2018, when I was Karnataka's youngest MLA candidate, I was invited to the police headquarters and I was asked, what does the police need to do? And I very ably put it out there. Why do we people see police as a dushman? Today, we are more scared of a police than others. We, the citizens of this country, need to understand that police is your friend, police is a dost, police is a law enforcer. Don't see them otherwise. Why do we get scared when we see a khaki? We need to start a dialogue. The Citizen Resident Welfare Association, along with the police initiative too, I requested the commissioner to have an initiative that we come together and see police as a friend, a police dost, police mitra, ya police anna as we call in Karnataka. One more thing, Shreya ji. Once again, I blame our citizen when anybody is a road victim, an accident victim. What do? We take out our cell phones and we want to grab it there rather than helping them out. What if this happened to my sister or my mother? Would I be okay with it? Absolutely not. It is high time that along with the police, along with better CCTV camera technology, we the citizens of this country must throw away our cell phones and go out and help the victim. Must ensure that e-rickshaw driver or any pedestrian or any people around there. It is time that we humans understand nothing bigger than humanity. And also a humble request to Miranji and
The
Vikram
citizen
Sahab
needs
is
to
that
strike back.
could there be a
I
measure?
agree with you.
Could there
I
be
agree with you that the
just
citizen needs to
last
strike
point,
back.
Shreya ji,
You know,
could there be a
it can be
measure
easy for the
where
Aam
the
Aadmi
citizen-
Party to say that the BJP is looking at law and order in the city. The BJP can turn back and say, where are the CCTVs, etc. But that is not the ladai, as I said, I want to get in today. Dr. Meera, I want to come to you with a question here. In your experience dealing with snatching, is this just individual lone attacks or is snatching an organized crime? Because in a lot of cases that are reported from across the country, and I know there was this horrifying incident that had happened last year in Delhi, where a girl was a victim of snatching and she was stabbed. She was stabbed multiple times. She ultimately died, which is why most women and men, I would imagine, but since women are mostly the victim of snatching, will say, okay, le jao, but don't harm us. Is it your experience that these are organized interstate gangs, which is why it becomes tough to catch them?
These chain snatchers definitely do not work in isolation. They are definitely organized criminal gangs. And I urge all state police stations not to apply simple IPC sections of theft, but to register these cases as robberies. Even if they are not interstate, they are definitely inter-district gangs, because snatching a chain involves a kind of skill which every criminal does not have. So they operate in gangs. And in Mumbai, Sion police station has proved that you can get them convicted under MCOC with 7 years punishment. So maybe other states should also follow Maharashtra, take chain snatchings very seriously, register them as robberies and as act of organized criminal gangs to secure conviction. We have done it, other states can also do so.
D. Rupa is joining us. She's a senior IPS officer. In fact, she's a serving IPS officer. D. Rupa, we are talking about something which is usually not taken seriously in the world of India's criminal justice system, snatching. There is a woman in Delhi yesterday, 56-year-old, who resists a snatching attempt, hits her head to the road and actually dies. I want to ask you why it is so difficult to rein in snatchers in cities across India, not just Delhi.
If police are 10 steps ahead, these criminals, they're generally 20 steps ahead. So there is always a need to step up. And of course, with all the resources at the government disposal, there is so much scope to improve upon technology. I think that is one area where which we haven't harnessed with respect to snatching. These days, other kind of traditional crimes like dacoity, robbery, they've all lessened. But the major ones are, one is, of course, cyber crimes and this chain snatching, which is a very easy thing to do compared to some other crimes. You just come with you change the number plate or you remove the number plate of the vehicle. And sometimes they cover the face also, and they come and watch and snatch and go off. So the rate at which it is happening, that is also because we haven't been that successful in nabbing. There is no the efficacy is somewhat missing here. That is why technology needs to come in, and policemen can't be there in all nukkad gullies. There is 1 lakh for every 1 lakh population. There is one policeman. That is a general figure, and it varies from one state to another. This being the case, I think women also should take precautions. When you're fine, Indian women love jewelry, but then when you're going out, and if you see that it's a deserted place or not, where there are not many people walking, please hide your jewelry. It's not for display to the strangers, and it could put you at unease. And secondly, if they are going alone, better to avoid lonely roads, dark lit places. Don't take shortcuts. Go in proper places if you're wearing heavy jewelry, and try and cover the jewelry if in case you suspect that such an area is more prone to such chain snatching acts. And carry with you something like a whistle, or maybe a stick, just as a weapon to ward off any kind of danger, and maybe sometimes chili powder. But be alert, most of all, be alert, because if you are
But
vigilant, that even shows up in your body language. And for the attacker, he will also observe how vigilant you are and how
Rupaji,
much you
I
can
understand your advice of being alert. I understand your advice about being alert. But if the citizen has to do everything, what will the police do? We know that these are
I'm not
organized
saying
gangs. These
I'm
are
not
not
saying
lone wolf
citizens.
attacks. These are organized gangs. The police's job is to identify them and to catch them. Let me give you the example of Delhi, ma'am. In the example of Delhi, these two gentlemen on the scooter were without helmets. The scooter was also stolen, which means a complaint would have been filed. Now, had someone taken that complaint seriously in the first place, maybe this incident would not have happened. B, given the fact that they are roaming around town without helmets, someone should have caught these two guys. They didn't. So in a stolen scooty without helmets, they pass by multiple police vehicles, I'm assuming. They reach this woman, snatch her purse. You're saying don't display your jewelry. It's not always jewelry, na? That's the problem. It's purse.
No,
It's anything you're
absolutely.
carrying,
I'm not saying
and it's
I'm not
such
saying it's
a
not.
big problem across India.
That is true, but as I said, fine, I'll just modify it. As I also said, police need to step up and use the interface of technology. Today there is CCTNS, there is also network between various states. But the problem is the frequency with which we communicate with the cross-border states. Because even in the border areas, if let's say now Bangalore, for example, it's a big city, but then it's very close to Andhra border and Tamil Nadu border. In just 10 minutes, one can get away across the border. So this being the case, with all the CCTNS, crime criminal information system in place, why still this is continuing? Probably because we are not, though the infrastructure is in place, it is not put to use, and technology becomes obsolete even if you don't use it for one day. The beauty of technology is that it gets advanced more and more, and it helps you only when it is put to use, and more use, the better it is.
Okay.
So I think this is where we need to educate our lower
Sandeep?
constabulary who are they are little averse to online things, but I think now the
Sandeep,
younger generation is good. Sorry?
Yeah, absolutely. Sandeep, I just want to come to you for a final comment. I just quickly wanted to come to Sandeep for a final comment. Sandeep, the problem is also with us, isn't it? I mean, even with the media. It's not my intention to bash any other channel, but the fact is that something like chain snatching, something like snatching will never make it to the national headlines. Everyone is so busy with Hindu Muslim.
So
The
many
problem is
things.
also with us and the citizens who are not demanding better of us.
So many things do not make it to the national television. Nobody, I think, watches national televisions today for news. You see, it is only you watch for entertainment and that kind of a mooda kushti, as you say. These issues, that's why it's great that you are having a program focused on urban issues. Similarly, I think all channels, there is a need for it. I think they'll get eyeballs if they do this. They have to bring it because media has to play a role in highlighting these issues. Earlier, a lot of it used to get also highlighted, in the newspapers in the good old days. I think today, television has to play a role. Even social media has to play a role in these issues. And we must all set a trend. So just like, for example, whatever you said about UP just now, I tweeted it, tagging the UP government. So I think all of us need to do that to raise the level of consciousness. among not only the citizens. The point which Rupaji was talking about citizens being vigilant, that is a given. But despite being vigilant, you have to, lead a normal life. And if you can't lead a normal life, if a city becomes dangerous, if women cannot come into Delhi to work, why does Bombay get so many working women from all over the country? Because of the level of safety they feel. So Delhi has to also create that kind of an ecosystem and atmosphere in the interest of the city, in the interest of the economy. And that's where I think all of us have to chip in to raise the consciousness.
Chelsea, just 30 seconds, please.
And I think we need to seek accountability. Okay, and I do think, I will give you 30 seconds, but I do think that all of us need to seek accountability of our political class and of our police as well. If we don't seek accountability, they'll think that it's absolutely okay. जो हो रहा है चलने दो. इंडिया में सब लोग बहुत कुछ झेल लेते हैं, ये भी झेल लेंगे. But street crime is something which impacts everyone. And I don't think people will be that forgiving when they reach a ballot box in 5 years. Go ahead very quickly, Asad, then I have to wrap the show.
Can't agree with you more, and I will take 30 seconds. I've always believed with power there's responsibility and accountability, and I agree with you. Also, as a matter of fact, 2 quick points which I could share with Karnataka Police, and there are 2 senior women police officers. I'm sure they'll agree with me. 2 humble requests I'd like to make. One is a Good Samaritan initiative. When I ask many people, why don't you help the people who are road accident victim, chain snatching victim, they say, oh, jhamela ho jayega. Too many things to fill. They'll call us to court. They'll call us witness. No. Let's make a change with the police system that it's much more easy and not complicated. If there are good Samaritans, they aren't held for any question, but let go. Also, one more initiative is the police dost or the police mitra, that a neighborhood friendly cop where we citizens identify them as friends and they with us together come together in an initiative where it's mutually helpful, where we are vigilant and they are also helping us. If these 2 solutions are worked out, I think it will be a much better place, and accountability with the police and the citizens too.
We leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much for joining us. India's roads have to be safe for its citizens. That is one thing for sure. So next time, dear viewers, you go out and vote for the right reasons and not for the wrong ones. We'll leave it there. Deerupa, thank you very much. Miran, Dr. Miran Borwankar, thank you very much for joining us. Vikram Singh joining us as well. And Syed Asad Abbas, thank you very much as well. From Urban